How's it going, everyone? Happy Wednesday. Come on in. Welcome to today's live ELA lesson. As you're coming in, let me know where you're watching from and what grade you are in if you're a student or with a student, because I would love to see who's joining us today. Welcome, everybody. I'm so excited for today's story and to get started. We're going to give everyone just a minute to get in here. So while you're waiting, let me know in the comments what grade you're in, what you've been doing today, where you're from. I'd love to hear what you've been up to and learn everything about you in the comments. Today's lesson is going to be super fun, and we're going to kind of shift gears a little bit. But if you caught my lesson last week, there's going to be some things we can tie in. So I'm super excited about it. For those of you just joining, welcome. My name is Pombonyo. I'm a third grade teacher and instructional coach in Orlando, Florida, and it is beautiful outside right now. So after this lesson, after you finish your work, I want everyone, if it's nice out where you are, to go outside, go for a walk, go for a run, because it is absolutely so nice out. So welcome, welcome. I see third graders joining in. I love third grade. Instagram, let me know as well. I can't see your comments, but I will go back through after and answer any questions or things like that. Now, if you're looking for resources from today's lesson, the link is in the description on Facebook. If you're on Instagram, don't worry about it. You can go head on over to that link after and check out the resources that go along with it. But we're going to get right into it today. So anytime we read a story, the author always, sorry, my neighbors are riding their bikes and I see them going past my window back and forth. So that's what that was. So every time we read a story, the authors, when they write the story, set up the pages and the sentences and the paragraphs in a very purposeful way. That means that they do it on purpose on how they organize everything in the text. So anytime that we're reading, we need to pay attention to what's called the text structure. Can you say that? Text structure. Now, text structure is how the author organizes the text. Now, there are tons of there's 5 major different types of text structures, but today we're going to focus on just one of those types of text structures. So, repeat after me. Text structure. Oh, you guys can be louder than that. I said text structure is how the author organizes the text. Good job, but a little louder this time. Text structure is how the author organizes the text. Excellent. So when the author organizes the text, that's called the text structure. That means how the sentences build upon each other, how the paragraphs might build upon each other, and how they're connected as well. So not only how they build upon each other, but how they all fit together to lead to our main idea. Now, I'm sure everyone that's watching knows what the main idea of a story is, and that's what the story is mostly about. So in order to figure that out, we need to use some skills as readers to figure out, okay, I can identify the text structure of this text or how the author set it up. Then that will help me figure out the main idea and figure out what it's mostly about. So the text structure that we're going to focus on today is sequence and chronological order. Now, these words are very similar. So they're not exactly the same, but they're very similar. So you might have heard sequence, you might have heard chronological order, or you might have heard both of those. So sequence. Everyone, even my kindergartners, know what it means to sequence something, right? That's when we're putting events in order from first to last. So everybody say sequence. Sequence. That's when we're putting events in order from first to last. We got that. You've known that since kindergarten. Now, the next one is chronological order. Everybody say chronological. One more time. Chronological. Now, chronological, if you know last week, you know I love breaking apart words. So chronological actually has a prefix in here that we can use to figure out the meaning of the word. So I put it right here for you. Chrono, or chrono, depending how you say it, equals time. So if I look at the word chronological, I see the prefix right there, and I know that means time. So chronological order is putting events in order based on time. That's right. So say chronological. Chronological order is putting events in order based on time. Now, this could be time of the day. This could be different days of the week. This can be different months, or it can be different years. So we can say in 2018, this happened. In 2019, this happened. In 2020, this happened. That's in chronological order because we're using time to order those events. Sometimes in a story, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, we don't necessarily know a date or a month or a time. We're just putting it in order of the steps that things happened, and that would be sequence. So if we're using steps to something on how to do something, if we're looking at just events in a story that we don't know the time, but we're just saying they happened in this order, that's putting things in sequence. If we say chronological order, we're going to put things in order of time based on time of day, month, week, whatever it might be. We're going to organize it with time. I see a lot of people getting hearts and giving a thumbs up that they're learning something new. I want you also to participate in the comments. So if you have anything to add or some background knowledge you have, go ahead and participate in the comments to let everyone know what you know too, because we can learn from each other as we go through this. So the text structure of the book we're about to read, it actually has a few in it, but the overall main text structure is chronological order because it's a biography. Have you heard of a biography before? If you've heard of a biography, go ahead and let me know in the comments, what is a biography? If you've heard of it, let me know, what is a biography? And have you ever read a biography before? Let me know in the comments because I would love to know. When I was little, and still even today, I used to love reading biographies. So let me know in the comments. There we go. A biography, and I have a piece of paper so I can show you everyone at home. A biography is a text written about someone's life. Now, I'm hoping you remember last week, if you caught the lesson where we did with Cece, that we learned about the prefix bio. Does anyone in the comments remember when we learned last week the prefix bio? If you do, write it in the comments. What does the prefix bio mean? What did we learn last week that it meant? And if you missed last week's lesson, you can catch out the replay on our Facebook or on the website. But what did bio mean? Does anybody remember? Bio, B-I-O, the prefix. Hopefully you remember that it meant life, right? Bio meant life. Last week in our story, we had the word biology, and it was the study of living things or the study of life, things that are living. Today in biography, if we know that bio means life, and I'll give you a little clue, graph right there means written. So anytime you see that in a word, that means written. So we have life, written. If we put those together, a biography is a text written about someone's life. So someone thought that this person was really, really interesting, and they wrote a biography about them, all about their life. Now, in a biography, the events are usually in chronological order because someone's life goes in order of time, right? So the biography might start off when they were born, or maybe when they were a kid, and then it will continue to show the events that they went through throughout their life. So a biography is a text written about someone's life. So today's biography that we're going to read, and a biography is a type of fiction or nonfiction. Let me know in the comments. Is biography a made-up story, like fiction text, or does it give us real details and real facts, like nonfiction? Let me know. Do you think there's characters, or is it based on someone's real life events? That's right. It's nonfiction because it is based on real life events. So the biography we're about to read. Now, one thing about biographies, and this kind of gets tricky sometimes, is sometimes biographies have real photographs that make it easy to know it's a biography about someone's life. But sometimes biographies and nonfiction text, they don't have text features and photographs like most nonfiction texts do. They have illustrations just like this one. I'm going to try to show you, and it's really bright. Does it get better there? Kind of. The yellow's hard to see. But this one has really great illustrations, and that's one of my favorite parts about this book. So before we get started, I want everyone to share this out to let everyone know to hop in because the story's about to get started, and it's hard to join in the lesson once the story started. So if you want to hit share, let everyone know to join now. It's a good time because we are about to start this biography called The Crayon Man. Now, just looking at the picture on the cover, I'm already excited because I love crayons. I love drawing. I love coloring. Let me know in the comments if you like drawing and coloring too. It is my favorite, and I'm sure you've been doing a lot of drawing and a lot of coloring while you've been home from school. So this is The Crayon Man, and it's the true story of the invention of Crayola crayons. Now, remember, our skill is sequenced in chronological order. So as we're reading this biography about the man who invented Crayola crayons, and you're going to find out his name in just a minute, I want you to think of what happened first, what happened next, what happened then, and then finally what happened at the end. So I want you to focus on that, and if you have your sheet from the printouts, it looks just like mine up here. So this says The Crayon Man, and it has first, next, then, and finally. So I want you to keep track of that on your own, or after we're done, you can go back and fill out that graphic organizer of events that happened in order. So give me some hearts, give me some likes if you are ready to get started so I know that everyone's ready. Are you ready? All right, let's do it. The Crayon Man, the true story of the invention of Crayola crayons. And I'm going to try my best to show you all the pictures because they are amazing. Once there was a man who saw color everywhere. He noticed the yellow-orange petals of the black-eyed Susans, those are flowers, in his garden. He marveled at the rich scarlet-red tones of the cardinal's feathers. He admired the deep blue-greens of the waves in the sea. Color made him really, really happy. Color makes me really, really happy too. But all day long at work, all he saw was black. Black dust, black tar, black smoke, black ink, black dye, black shoe polish. His company sold carbon black, a new kind of pigment or colored substance made from the soup of burning oil and natural gas. People use it in printing inks, electric street lamps, and stove and shoe polish. It also made rubber car tires last much longer. So he works in a factory. So I want to show you this over here. There's little text box on every page, and Instagram I'll show you too, that give us some real facts about this man and the things happening in his life. So it's a story about his life, a biography, but in these little boxes, it's going to give us some more facts and key details so we know what is happening. So that's why I love it so much. So he works in a factory and everything is black. That makes me think that he is not so happy because they said on the first page, color makes him happy. Exactly. Let's see. His name was Edwin Binney, and he was an inventor. He worked with his cousin, C. Harold Smith. Together, they were Binney and Smith. Harold was a great salesman. He loved to travel the world. But Edwin was curious. He had a knack for listening and making sure that people got what they needed. So Edwin is really curious. Edwin invented a new kind of inexpensive slate pencil that wrote very smoothly. It was gray. Children loved it. Then he invented a kind of chalk that wasn't dusty and didn't crumble. It was white. Teachers loved it. He invented a wax crayon that would write on wood and paper packaging. It was really, really black. People loved it. So he's inventing all these things that people love. Now, the fact over here says paper was very expensive in the 1800s. So children wrote with slate pencils or chalk on slates, small handheld blackboards. So kind of like we have whiteboards now, They used to have a chalkboard or a slate that they would have to write on with this chalk and then erase it to use it because paper was very, very expensive. So that lets us know what's happening during that time. So when everyone, including Edwin's wife, Alice, told him that children needed better, cheaper crayons, he listened. They said, "The crayons we have are big, dull, and clumsy. The lumps of colored clay only make fat, clunky lines. And the artist crayons from Europe are far too expensive for us. They crumble and break easily. Some are even poisonous, so they're not safe if kids wanted to use them." The fact on this page says, Alice, who was his wife, used to be a school teacher, so she knew exactly what children needed. She encouraged Edwin to invent the crayons. So that's where he got the idea. All they had was chalk for a slate. It was big, it broke, it was clumsy, it was dull. Dull means that it's not very colorful, right? And it was pretty boring. Edwin thought about his company's inventions. When you drew a picture with their gray slate pencil, it rubbed off at the drop of a hat. When you drew a picture with their white chalk, it just smudged everywhere. If you drew a picture with Edwin's new really black crayon, it was, well, really black, and you can see it. You can barely see the gray and the white, which is exactly what they're saying, but the black, you can definitely see that. None of these inventions were any good for drawing in color. You can see him thinking, and there's a light bulb right there. What does that light bulb tell you? He might just have an idea. So Edwin listened, and Edwin invented. In a small stone mill in Pennsylvania, in a top secret lab, Edwin's team experimented. How could they make better, stronger crayons? That's their question. Melted paraffin wax? Perhaps. Right here, the fact on this page. The first colored crayons invented in Europe were made for a mixture of charcoal and oil, so they broke very easily. To make stronger crayons, Edwin tried using wax instead. Now, for the crayon colors, grinding and grinding and grinding up rocks and minerals into fine powders. Mixing, slate for gray, earth for yellow, red and brown, perhaps. And yes, flowers for blue. Pounding and sifting and heating the colored powders. Would they be bright enough? Edwin's team kept on trying. They kept on experimenting. Right here it says, ground up rocks and minerals made bright pigments for crayons. This is one of my favorite pages. I'm going to show you it first. Can you see all the workers? I know it's pretty bright. There you go. All the workers. Instagram, I'll show you too. All the workers are covered in color. They came home every day colored in color. They experimented some more and discovered a pinch of this pigment, a sploosh of that one, a little hotter, a little cooler, and voila! Everybody say that. Voila! Louder. You can say it a little louder. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Voila! Have you heard that before? I love saying that word. And voila! Lots of different shades. Now there were greens, oranges, violets, pinks, purples too. Edwin came home covered in color. Look at Edwin. He's got all the colors all over him. Right here, the fact says, to make orange, green, and violet, chemists blended various pigments and clays. Some minerals changed color when heated. So if they made things hotter, it would change the color. If they made it cooler, it would change the color as well. Plus, the length of time the mixtures were left to cool created different colors too. I love that. In a large tub at the mill, Edwin's team measured out the ingredients. Melted wax, check. Clay to thicken, check. Something for texture, check. Colored powders, check. Each in just the right amount every time to make a top secret formula. Slowly, carefully stirring by hand, they poured the special formula into thin, crayon-shaped molds, smaller than any other inventors, and just the right size for children's hands. So not only was he figuring out different colors and ways to make them sturdier, he also figured out how to make them smaller so they can fit in children's hands, which is really, really cool. The mixture cooled and hardened. Edwin watched, and Edwin waited. The fact says, children might eat or chew the crayons and get sick, so Edwin's team experimented to find safe, non-toxic colors and materials. Remember earlier in the book they said all those other crayons were maybe poisonous, some of them, because the materials were not safe. So when Edwin made it, he wanted to make sure that just in case a little kid puts it in their mouth or something, it would be safe. Finally, one summer evening in June 1903, Edwin came home covered in color and announced that he'd invented a new kind of colored crayon. But what should he call it? Alice had an idea. She said, let's mix the French word cray. Everybody say cray. Cray. Not cray like crazy, but cray like the French word, which means a stick of chalk. And the word ola, from the French word oleaginous, meaning oily, like the oily texture of the crayon wax, to invent a new word. So she said, let's take the word cray, which means stick of chalk, and ola, from the word oleaginous, and put them together to make the word, can you see it? Crayola. Isn't that just the coolest name? Crayola. So that's how Crayola crayons got their name. She took those two parts of French words and put them together to make the name Crayola. Binney and Smith shipped out the first Crayola crayon boxes. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, brown, and black. 8 colored crayons for only a nickel. Can you believe that? Only a nickel. Edwin waited. Would children like them? What do you think? Do you think children liked his crayons? Well, of course, I made an inference like we practiced last week, because if we think of who likes crayons now, they're everywhere, right? Everyone loves crayons. And guess what? Children did. Now they could draw a tiny green caterpillar or the big blue sky. Their drawings wouldn't smudge and they wouldn't rub out. They were bright and could last a long, long time. Right here it said, by the 1900s, inventors had figured out how to make cheaper paper from wood pulp, so children could now draw on paper instead of just slate. Excitement over the new colorful invention spread like wildfire. I love that. Admirers from far and wide flocked to marvel at Binney and Smith's inventions at the St. Louis World's Fair. The company's dustless chalk even won a gold medal. Well, that's an accomplishment, right? Proudly, Edwin and Harold showed it off, especially on their new Crayola crayon boxes. So look, it says gold medal. And if you look at Crayola boxes, you just might see gold medal on some of their boxes. Every day, Edwin brought colorful bouquets from his garden to inspire the Crayola team. So they didn't stop working with those 8 colors. He brought colorful bouquets of flowers to inspire his team and get them to keep thinking. They made crayons in even more different shades and later asked children to help name some of them. They had a contest to help name some of the crayons. So here you can see Tropical Rainforest, Robin's Egg Blue, Granny Smith Apple, Macaroni and Cheese. Those might be some of the crayons that you've used today, but they didn't come along till a little after. Right here, the fact says, to celebrate their 90th anniversary, Crayola held a color naming competition. The 6-year-old winner coined Tropical Rainforest. Other color names created by children included Robin's Egg Blue, Tickle Me Pink, and Macaroni and Cheese. Those are the new colors that they created. At last, because of Edwin Binney, the man who saw color everywhere, who had a knack for listening and making what people needed, children all around the world could reach for just the right shade. Do you have a favorite crayon that you pick out of the box? I know I do. Let me know in the comments what color you always choose first. Now, at the end of the story, they have a little step-by-step of how crayons are made. So we have about 5 minutes left. So I'm going to share these with you really, really quick because I think this is really cool. They have real photographs from the factory and steps to make. Now, if you go on YouTube or the Crayola website, you can actually watch videos of them making crayons. I got to go to the real Crayola factory in Pennsylvania when I was little, and I got to see them making the crayons right there in front of me in the window. So now they have Crayola Experience here in Orlando. They have one, and a few other places too, where you can actually see them make the crayons. But I got to go to the original factory when I was little, and it was probably the best day ever. I saw them making all the crayons in the molds, the wax dripping. It was really cool. So this is how Crayola crayons are made today. In 1903, Crayola crayons were made carefully in small lots, labeled and packed into boxes by hand, and sold to schools. Today, machines produce an average of 12 million crayons a day. 12 million crayons a day. That is crazy. 12 million just in one day. That's over 8,333 crayons a minute. So just right now in the last minute, over 8,333 crayons were made. That is crazy. And they're coming more than 120 different colors. They're sold in over 80 countries all across the world. So here we go. Step one. Now, these are steps to do something, right? So they don't go by a certain time. So these are sequence steps. So on your sheet, you might want to do chronological order of the life of the inventor, Edwin, or you might want to do sequence of the steps to make a crayon. So listen up. Step number one, train cars deliver paraffin wax to the Crayola factory in Easton, Pennsylvania. See, I told you I went there. The wax is heated and the clear melted liquid is stored in tall silos, ready to be pumped inside. Number two, workers pour colored powders called pigments into vats filled with the liquid wax, add clay to thicken it, and then mix it. Step number three, the wax pigment mixture is pumped into a huge mold. It looks like a giant circular muffin tin. The mix fills at all the 110 small crayon-shaped holes in each section. I'm going to show you the picture. There you go. Cold water flows underneath the mold to cool the wax and harden it into the crayon. A large blade scrapes off extra wax to be reused later. The crayons are pushed up from the mold. A robotic arm then moves them to the labeling machine. Pre-printed sticky labels on a huge drum are wrapped around each crayon. Workers check the finished crayons and store them in large cartons. And to make up Crayola crayon boxes, workers place the crayons in the right order in the collating machine. A chute drops one each by each into the box. A robotic arm opens the box, puts the crayons inside, and sends them down on a conveyor belt to be shipped. So you can see here all the, there we go, all the different color crayons. They go into the box, and then they are ready to be shipped. Then in the back, they have some more information about Edwin right there. But that's our story for today. So that was the true story of Edwin, the man who was called the Crayon Man. So he invented Crayola crayons. So on your sheet, we have just a few minutes, but I'm going to tell you what to do, and then I'm going to send you off. You can go ahead and do the order of events that we talked about. First, next, then, finally. And then if you can right here, you can put them together into a little paragraph. Then you also in the resources, if you go to the link in the bio, have a little biography sheet, since we read a biography, which we learned was a story written about someone's life, about Edward Binney. So you can put 4 character traits that describe him. You can color those in with your crayons. And then I want you to post pictures of you coloring or drawing or doing your biography so we can share them out. So make sure you tag me, tag Get Your Teach On, so we can see everything you're doing today. And then you can go through and write facts about his early life, accomplishments, any interesting facts. And then I have a sheet right here that you can do your own biography about anyone. So you might choose your grandma, your grandpa, your mom, your dad, your brother, someone that you see on TV, someone in your favorite movie, whatever it might be, and you can do your own biography. Make sure you guys tune in every day at 1 o'clock for another live ELA lesson. I love sharing this story with you all. And right now, head on over to Hope and Wait's Facebook page for Class Fit to get your brain up and body up and moving with a new dance from our friend Julia. So thank you guys so much for joining. Make sure to share out and let others know to join in each day at 1 o'clock. And I will see you next week. And I'm going to see you over on Class Fit because I'm ready to get my dance on. So head on over there right now. Hope and Wait's Facebook page or here on the Get Your Teach On page. And let's get our bodies warmed up with a new dance from Julia. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for joining.